Hi students, welcome to our science class. Our chapter name is circulatory system. In the last two classes we are discussing about different topics in this chapter. Today we are going to conclude this and the left topic is heart. We are going to discuss that. Before that, in the last class I just gave you one of the activity to do. That means you have to measure the pulse of yourself and your family members also. I think you already find the pulse of your family members and yourself, and you may get it between a range of 72 to 80. Almost in between 72 to 80, or within somehow that if having certain age differences with having small variation with this value. And actually we are talking about the pulse with a rate of 70 to 80. That means some have 73 or some have 74 or some may have 70 like that. So we are just taking an average of heartbeat. The number of heartbeats that takes place in a minute is 70 to 80. So we can say the rate of pulse is 70 to 80 for an adult person. That means he is very healthy and his pulse rate is 70 to 80. And the other thing is that in the activity I just also instruct you to just run and after that measure the pulse. When you just run, you can see that your pulse rate is getting increased. Your pulse rate is getting increased. That means by the physical activities, by the physical activities, the rate of pulse will be increased. By the physical activity, the rate of pulse will increase. And actually, the age will depend the rate of pulse. For a newborn baby, the rate of heartbeat will be higher, and by getting age, the pulse will getting decreased. So this is all about this pulse. And now we are going to the actual topic for today, that is heart. Heart. So now the question is, what is heart? So the heart is a muscular organ. Heart is a muscular organ. That means it is made up of certain type of muscles, and we already studied that is cardiac muscle. So we can say this heart is a muscular organ which pumps blood. Which pumps blood to all the parts of our body, through blood vessels. So we can say heart is a muscular organ which pumps blood to all parts of our body through blood vessels. So this is the definition for heart. So now the thing is that when this heart beats, is this heart is just beating for a certain time? No. This heart will start beating at the time of the first born, or means the heart will work at the beginning of the birth of a baby to our death. That means the heart will always work from our life. And the thing is that when the heart will stop, we can say the person is dead. So this heart is a organ which continuously work in our body without getting tired. So this heart is always in work. The next thing is that where this heart is located, where is the position? The position of heart in our body is that it is located between our lungs. You know, in our body we have, and in between the lungs our heart is located. located in between our lungs. Our heart is located. And generally there is having a misconception that our heart is located at the left side of our body. Actually, it is not like that. The heart is located at the center of the body, but it is just tilted to left side. It is tilted to left side, and that's why we are just saying that this heart is located at the left side of our body. So it is having a tilt to left side, but located actually in between the center of the lungs. So this is about the location of heart. We discussed about what is heart, and then we said that it will work all through our life. Then we said that it is located between the lungs, in the chest cavity, in the chest cavity, and it is just tilted to left side. So now the point is that what is the size of this heart? Generally we are saying that our heart is having the size of fist. For me, my heart is having the size of my fist. For you, it will be the size of your fist. So that means the size of the heart will also change with our age. So generally we can say the size of heart is size of our fist. The next point is, how many compartments are there in our heart? We can simply say that in our heart there are 4 compartments, and we are calling it as chambers. That is, in our heart it has 4 compartments, means 4 rooms, and we are calling it as chambers. They are called chambers. So that means the left side it is having 2 chambers, and for this right part it is having 2 chambers, and for each chamber it is having different name. So the name is that the 2 chambers at the top side we are calling it as, at the top side we are calling these 2 chambers are auricles. Auricles. That means for these 2 we are calling the 2 chambers together called auricles, and for one we will call another name, I will tell. And for these 2 chambers together we are calling it as called ventricles. These 2 chambers are together called ventricles. And here we together call these 2 are auricles. Now the question is, how we can call this one chamber? This one chamber is called atrium. Atrium. So this atrium is singular word. That means for this chamber we are calling the single chamber as atrium. So when we are calling these 2 together, we can call either it as auricles, or also there is having another name that is called atria. So you just want to remember that this atrium is a single name, and when we want to turn it as plural we will call it as atria, or generally you can also call these 2 chambers together as auricles. In this section you want to remember one thing, that in our heart we have 4 chambers, that means 4 rooms or 4 compartments. That compartments are called chambers, and that chambers at the top we are calling it as auricles, and for this bottom we call it as ventricles. So this is all about this area. Now we want to study the structure of our heart. In this area, in your textbook, you can see a neat diagram of our heart. The thing is that you don't want to study how to draw this heart, but you want to study what are the names of these parts. That means In your question paper, you get a diagram and they have dash A, dash B like questions, and you have to identify what is the name of that section. So, no need of want to study how to draw this, but you want to study what is the name. Means you have to label these parts. So, now we are going to study the different names of the parts in our heart. So, this is the structure of our heart. Here, this is aorta. This section is called aorta. And for the corresponding, here we have vena cava. This aorta is also called main artery. This aorta is also called main artery, and this vena cava is also called main vein. So, this is the main vein and this is the main artery. In the last class, we studied about artery, vein, capillaries, like all these things. So, this is the main artery and this is the main vein. That means the vein which comes to our heart and the artery which comes to our heart. That are the two things, and we are calling it as, for the vein we call it as vena cava, and for this we are calling it as aorta. So, now already said that in our heart we have 4 chambers. So, the first chamber is left atrium, and for here it is right atrium. Here left atrium and here right atrium. And when we are talking about the bottom side, we have right ventricle and here left ventricle. So generally we can say it as, for our heart it is having 4 chambers, and this is what left atrium. This is left atrium and this is right atrium. And this is left ventricle. This is left ventricle and this is right ventricle. So, these 4 are the chambers. Then we studied about the vena cava and aorta. And in this diagram there is also one part which is muscular wall, which means that this muscular wall is dividing these chambers. That means in your textbook you can see a yellow area which is dotted with red. So that area is called muscular wall, which divide all these chambers. So this is all about the structure of our heart. So you want to study these names and you just want to identify where it is located. So this is all about this area. Now we want to study how the blood is circulating through our body. So the heart is these all things. Now we want to study how this blood is just getting circulating through our whole body. That means the heart is a particular part of the circulatory system. In the first class we studied that in the circulatory system we have certain organs that includes heart, the vein, artery, the other organs like blood, all the things which is included in the circulatory system. Now the question is how this is coming through or how it is flowing through our body. That is the thing we have to discuss in this area. The topic is that blood circulation in human body. That is the next topic and this is the final topic in this chapter. That is the blood circulation in our body. That means how this blood is transferring or circulating through our body. It is having certain steps and you can see here a diagram. The first step is that the deoxygenated blood from body parts. That means in our body we have different organs and these organs are continuously working. And because of this reason in these body parts it is continuously absorbing the oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. That is the body parts are doing. So, the deoxygenated blood means the blood which contains carbon dioxide. Deoxygenated means it is not actually having the pure oxygen, it is having carbon dioxide, and we call it as deoxygenated blood, or also we can say the blood which is rich in carbon dioxide. The deoxygenated blood from the body parts enter to the right side of our heart through main vein, which means that through this main vein the deoxygenated blood is getting entered to the right side of our heart through veins, and this blood is from our organs of the body. So this deoxygenated blood is just reach our heart. That is the first step. And the next step is that the blood in this heart pumps to lungs. That means here the blood is now deoxygenated blood, which means that the blood is containing carbon dioxide. So that deoxygenated blood is pumping to our lungs through pulmonary artery. That means this heart is pumping the deoxygenated blood to our lungs through pulmonary artery. That is the step number 2. Now in the step number 3, these lungs just absorb the carbon dioxide in our blood and make our blood pure. That means just make the blood filled with oxygen, and we know in our body all the organs need the blood which contains oxygen, and actually we can say the carbon dioxide filled blood is just poisonous to our body, which means that it is just harmful. We are just saying this carbon dioxide filled blood is something impure. So this oxygenated blood is getting from this lungs. That means this lungs is absorbing or just taking in this carbon dioxide and making the blood rich with oxygen. So that is the next step. That means in lungs the carbon dioxide is eliminated and fill the oxygen. That is the step number 3. In the lungs the blood filled with carbon dioxide is just eliminated and the blood is filled with oxygen. That is the third step. Now the fourth step is that now the blood is not deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood means the blood having carbon dioxide. Now the carbon dioxide is just eliminated by the lungs, and now the blood is oxygenated blood. It is oxygenated blood, which means the blood having rich with oxygen. So the oxygenated blood is getting entered to the left side of our heart through pulmonary vein. Through the pulmonary vein, the blood is getting entered to our heart from lungs. And the speciality of the blood is that it is oxygenated blood, which means it fills with oxygen. And so this oxygenated blood is now in the 5th step, it is getting enter into our body through the organ, and it is called aorta. So that means through these arteries, and we call that organ called aorta, and so that aorta is sending oxygenized blood to our body parts. That means through the aorta the oxygenated blood is getting sent to the different organs. And now the question is how this aorta is sending the oxygenated blood to the different organs. In our organs we know there is having number of cells, and this oxygen is absorbing and giving out the carbon dioxide by the cell. So the blood, the oxygenated blood is just through the arteries, it is going to the cell. So these arteries are splitting into capillaries. So these arteries are getting into capillaries. That is the thing we studied in the last class itself. Which means that these arteries are then splitting into capillaries. These capillaries are very small tubes. And this oxygenated blood is just getting into capillaries, and these capillaries are giving this oxygenated blood to our cell. So this cell absorbs the oxygen in this blood and then give out the carbon dioxide to the capillaries. And then this capillaries is getting into veins. So that means we already studied and the diagram is in your textbook that this veins is getting turned into capillaries and these capillaries are then containing into arteries. The thing we already studied. That means the carbon dioxide which is just giving out from the cell is then going to the veins and then these veins transport this to our heart. That means the blood is now deoxygenated blood. So this is a cycle. That means in our body the cycle is continuously working and we know within a minute our heart pumps 72 to 80 times. That means this circle is continuously repeating through our body. So this is all about the blood circulation in human body. And for different animals the number of chambers and structure all are different. So for human body we have 4 chambers and all these things about this chapter. In this chapter we discussed about what is the circulatory system. Then we discussed what are the things there in the circulatory system that includes blood, the veins or we can say the blood vessels. That includes the blood vessels includes vein, arteries and capillaries and then the main thing is our heart. These are the things mainly discussed in this chapter and here we are concluding this topic and also this chapter. You please want to read your textbook and study this diagram. And this diagram is actually we call it as flow chart or cycle. So this is the cycle of circulatory system in our human body. So you want to study this and want to study what are the steps that takes place in our body according to the circulatory system. So this is all about this chapter. You please want to read your textbook and in our next class we can solve the question answers in this chapter and it's enough for today. We will meet in next class. Thank you.